Okay, friends. Welcome, everyone. Let us feel the invitation to our divine essence, right? When we come to the Spiritist Society of Virginia, we're practicing living as spirits. Because whenever we least expect, we'll be called to our spiritual home. And that's the real life. And there, no matter the titles, the home and the car and the things of the world, everything stays and we go. It's like when I walk my dog and my spirit mentor says, Vanessa, look at your door. Now keep walking and think you're not coming back. How does it feel? I catch my breath. Oh my gosh, I didn't say, I didn't finish, I didn't do. Said, got the feeling? So think about it every day because you never know. And we as spiritists, says Joana de Angelis in this book, we need to think about that every day because our loved ones are going to depart. We're going to go back to the spiritual home and it's not a bad thing. No. But it's important to do here what we came to do. It's like going to school. If you go to school because of your friends, that's not the right choice. We go to school to study, and then friends are bonus. Good friends, right? Because if we have bad friends, it just derails us. And in life, that's the same. It's a school every day. If I wake up and all I do is thinking of myself and playtime and entertainment and easy comfort, that's when we're going to go back and we have to repeat the year in another reincarnation. That's why Joana de Angelis today is telling us, illuminate yourself with prayer as often as possible. Create a mental space and tap into the spring field of life where you can absorb pure energies and peace. All the saints and mystics who have altered the course of humankind for the better in the East and the West have pointed to prayer as the most effective tool for both achieving and preserving inner harmony. Jesus cheerfully spent much time with his disciples and the masses. However, he also reserved time to talk with God through prayer, and he praised the excellence of such sublime colloquies for others. So leave the turmoil for the oasis of prayer to bask in self-renewal and peace. So let us pray. If they're saying pray, let's pray. Let's feel the presence of our guardian angels who take this life very seriously and open ourselves. Dear Mother, Father God, we visualize our unity with you, our togetherness, you sustaining us at each breath as we breathe in and out, feeling your embrace and your healing, harmonizing our minds and bodies. We pray for those who have their names in the book of prayer, and we visualize the music of your love playing in our ears, the encouragement so we can fulfill your loving will. We then ask for your guidance. We feel your protection as you grant us the permission to be. And so be it. So be it. All right, we have much to do together. It's going to be a joy. Miss Daisy is going to stay here. Miss Carrie and I are going to go inside with you guys. And we hope we all enjoy. The message at the beginning matches what we're going to do in all rooms. All right, friends? Just a second. So checking here our sounds and everything to make sure we get everything right. Good morning. How are you guys doing? Good morning. Today thank you, Narciso. We're gonna go on a journey to talk about the power of now. I believe there is a book that is titled The Power of Now, because science is already showing to us how today is the opportunity for us, not tomorrow, not a week from now. But today we're going to talk about the importance of this gift. It's so beautiful that it's called the present because it is a present in our lives. So we're going to base our study today on a message that's in this book, yet to be translated, but the message we translated to English for our study today is titled Defile by Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier. Who was Humberto de Campos? Humberto de Campos was a very well-known Brazilian writer, journalist. He was very well-known throughout Brazil. But during his reincarnation, he was actually not a spiritist. He heard about spiritism, but he ignored it. He pushed it aside. It's like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this. But then later on, he gets very sick. Towards the end of his life, he starts to rethink a lot of things. So then when he discarnates in the spiritual realm, he realized the importance of us having this vision in both realms. So as a great writer, he wrote many tales and he brings to us real accounts, as we've been studying throughout this year, right, of stories of people like all of us. And today this story is about John Matthew. So let us first listen to the story and then we're going to break down the message together. Okay?
Kardec Radio presents The File, an adaptation of the message by Humberto de Campos, Brother X, through Chico Xavier, from the book Tales and Parables, Chapter 7. On the night he turned 50, John Matthew, a distinguished spiritist speaker, gathered with his friends to pray in gratitude for life. When the house grew quiet, he went to bed. That night, John dreamed. He saw himself arriving at the gates of the spiritual world. Overcome by lightness and joy, he prepared to ascend into the splendor of heaven. But then, a kind worker at the celestial gate approached him.
John, before you move forward, it would be wise to take a look at your file, just to avoid any unpleasant surprises.
John accepted the shining document. On the first page, he read his own name, John Matthew. He began to read. Born in 1904, a peaceful cradle, loving parents, faithful friends. He continued, a bright mind, a sound body, good books, a calm youth, a comfortable home, no major illnesses, constant spiritual protection. At 20, he entered the world of commerce. At 25, he married, but lived as a man who enslaved his wife. He was a devout Catholic until 26, attending hundreds of masses without truly listening. At 27, he embraced Spiritism. He attended over 2,000 Spiritist meetings held in the name of Jesus, delivered more than 1,600 Spiritist talks and lectures, wrote moving letters and pages that inspired many. Well-known speaker, he was careful when discussing controversial topics. He had 4 children, an abundant table at home. Yet he never found time to guide his children in their journey toward Christ. He went on 106 trips for rest and entertainment. He showed significant intolerance toward his neighbors and was resistant to any change in habits that would allow him to serve others. He never noticed when his behavior offended others, yet was extremely sensitive to how others treated him. He only associated with people of his own social level. He spoke of fraternity, but avoided the inconveniences of real brotherhood. In material life, John had prospered greatly. He owned valuable property and had generous savings, all under the constant blessing of Jesus and his messengers. Then he reached the final line. For Jesus, who came to him in the form of beggars, the sick, and the needy, John Matthews gave, in his entire life, 90 cents. And beneath that, in cooperation with Christ's work of love, he gave a total of $12 to charitable causes. Then a single word, debt. Before he could read the rest, John awoke, trembling, breathless. Morning sunlight filled the room. He sat on the edge of his bed, shaken but deeply moved. That evening, he shared his dream with friends.
I've changed. This dream opened my eyes. From now on, I will unite my words with action. I will dedicate myself to serving, to building a shelter for homeless children I have long wished to help.
They all rejoiced. The experience had transformed him. Before leaving, John smiled and said,
Let's meet again tomorrow to begin the work.
But when his friends came to his door the next evening, John Matthews was gone. A sudden heart attack had carried him to the world he had dreamed of.
Dear friends, are you surprised? It's so interesting. Humberto de Campos is such a great writer because all his tales, right, there's a twist at the end. But let us go back to this story because it starts by saying that John Matthews has a dream and he goes to the spiritual realm and he learned that he has a file. do we know that we have a file in the spiritual realm? And we can imagine, right? Is it a very short file or a very thick one? Because it's definitely a folder with all our reincarnations, so everything is there. And we can see by Humberto de Campos' description the precision, right? It's not just, oh, he went to the Spiritist Center. They counted the number of study sessions, the lectures that he did, how many trips he took, how much money he gave, everything. It's so much to the detail. So we can imagine everything that we do, that we think, that we feel, it's recorded in our file. So what is in our spiritual file? If we had the opportunity, like John Matthews, to go and browse through, we will probably need to be very well prepared, because we will probably gonna see things there that we're gonna say, oh no, can we erase? Does the spiritual file has the whiteout? Can we write that part out? Unfortunately not. But God is so merciful. So why is it important for us to know this? Because we know that everything we do, it's recorded. We are responsible for what we do in this life, in this reincarnation. So we need to be, we're not here just to, oh, let's live life, let's have fun, let's enjoy the ride. Because when we go back and we have the opportunity to review our file, if what we see there is not aligned with our own conscience, see, because it's not God who punishes us, it's ourselves. In our conscience, if that doesn't align, that's when we will see the consequence to lives to come. And that's exactly what we're studying on Fridays with the Andrea Louis series here. Because Andrea Louis is very similar to John Williams in some aspects, although he didn't get to know about Spiritism. He had a life very similar to John Williams. So let us recap together. Who was he? He had a childhood and a youth years that were, let's say, very uneventful in a way. He had, from what is described, Humberto de Campos, a stable family. He was raised in a loving home, a nurturing environment. He had good health, a healthy physical body. He had food on the table. Things were comfortable. He even had a good education. And then mentioning the message, he had constant spiritual protection. Okay, so from just that information, we can already assume that John Matthews was very well prepared for this reincarnation. He was put in an environment so that he would prepare himself for what will come later. So how about us? It doesn't matter if we had a stable childhood, if there were problems or not. That's not the point. But the point is for us to rewind the tape, because we don't need, like John Matthews, a special session in the spiritual realm to review our file. We can already do ourselves that, ourselves. So it's important for us to rewind the tape and look in our childhood, our youth. Maybe we did have a challenging childhood and youth growing up. But there is a reason why. Nothing is by chance. So we can understand the environment that we are in and what that prepared for us, like Chico Xavier. He was only 5 years old when he lost his mother. He lived for a while with his godmother, who was very, very harsh to him. She wasn't loving and caring, on the contrary. But that prepare him for later on, because he would have to develop a tough skin. And his mother appeared to him in spiritual form to say, respect your godmother, understand her, follow her directions. She didn't come and say, oh, poor my baby, I discarnated here there all by yourself, poor baby. He was only 5. But she said, no, Chico, you stay strong. And that prepared him. So we need to look at our childhood and our youth to understand our lives. But in the case of John Matthews, we can already see it was very tailored. So much so that he gets to his adulthood, he built a stable career, he was married, he had a family, and they mentioned he had a very prosperous material life. This is something for sure for us living in Northern Virginia or the DMV area. We know that we all have a very privileged and prosperous material life in some ways or another, because we are living in a very rich part of our country and the world. So that puts a lot of responsibility on us, like John Matthew. So in the eyes of the world, he was set, right? He had checked all the boxes. If we got this page of his file and we went to the streets and interviewed people, probably 99.9 people would say, oh yeah, I want a life like John Matthews. He had everything in the eyes of society. But through the eyes of in the spiritual realm, he already pointed out to us, he had a lot of debts. On Fridays, as we're studying Nosso Lar, it's already known that André Luiz has this disclosed in the book, and as he talks about his trajectory, was Dr. Chagas in Brazil many years ago. And André Luiz in the book says exactly this. He was a doctor. He had a place in society very well known. He was a very well-known researcher, and he saved many lives through his research. But he gets to the spiritual realm and he finds himself in the lower zones, or the umbral, how some call it. And he was surprised because he was called an indirect suicide. And he said, but I didn't kill myself. But similar to John Matthews, André Luiz was all focused on the immediately pleasures of life, thinking that he was going to be happy if he had money, power, and resources. But the question for us, as we are here to go deeper, and thanks to Spiritism, we can ask ourselves, what do we need to do to succeed in a reincarnation? Because none of the books that we read and the information that we get from the spirits is that this is equal to a path in our reincarnatory plan. This is very important for us because it's an exercise for us to change the way we see our lives. Because society will tell us, think of yourself, put yourself first. Oh, you're not gonna go for that promotion at work? How come? It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But we know if we take that promotion, it would mean less time with our family. It might mean that we're gonna be far away from our loved ones. Or we're gonna have to do things that are a little bit shady at work. But then we say, no, but my family needs the money. Okay, Let us sit down and do the math. Do they need it's not even one, right? It's $1, $2, $3 million homes, or they need a loving home environment, independent of the size. And it's so easy for us to get distracted and follow what society tells us. But Spiritism comes and says, what is the recipe for success? That's the $1 million question. What is that we discarnate and we have truly come to transform ourselves. We came to go through deep and profound transformations in our lives. But we may ask, how, Daisy? How do I do it? Well, that's why we need to study our file and see, okay, what are the points that I came that I need to modify? So let us study John Matthews, because studying this, we're going to study ourselves. We know that he failed in his inner transformation. How? Humberto de Campos described for us. He, like all of us, was a spiritist, so he knew about the importance of fraternity. He knew about the importance of helping others. But he never changed his routine or got out of his way to help others. Okay, so now a question for us. Do we get out of our way in our comfort zone to truly help? And we're not saying only helping the homeless in Washington, D.C., or that charity organization once a month. We're talking in our daily lives. A family member comes and says, can you change your schedule to be at our child's event? Or can you do this for me? And we're like, oh, but I'm going to have to rearrange all my schedule. But that person is asking us to be there to help. Sometimes it's a coworker who comes and our plate is already full. But the coworkers ask, can you help me with this? Or sometimes they just want to talk because they don't have anyone else to talk to. And we say, oh yeah, I'm busy right now, later. But the person needs us now. And that's the whole point of the message of John Williams, because he disclosed later in the message, he thought about helping, but later, not today. But later, it's already too late. So true fraternity is when we sacrifice ourselves for the benefit of others. That in itself is the recipe. But society says, oh no, but people are going to take advantage of you. Are you going to let them do that to you? Poor Jesus. That's what people thought about him, that people were taking advantage of him. And look at where he is now and where we are. He understood, and he was a spiritism, which Kardec disclosed for us in his books. Without charity, there's no salvation. But then we add up how much he helped, and we transformed these values. These were in, it's not even reais, it was in cruzeiros still. But this is just to give us a reference, right? 90 cents, 90 centavos, 12 cruzeiros, $12, it's still very little. But the point here is about the quantity. It's not the quantity, but it's how we do it. Because he describes to us, he talked about fraternity and charity and helping others, but He kept himself in the social circles that were most convenient to him. He didn't want to mix himself with others. So let's bring to us, because if it is for us to spend our money in a trip, in an expensive dinner, we don't even calculate the cents. We're easy to sign up. To pay thousands of dollars to go to a Taylor Swift concert, which we love her, but we're just comparing. People easily do it. They stay in the internet, wait for their place in line. They do everything that they can. Oh, but then when it's for us to help sometimes a beggar on the street, we count the cents and we do the math. And then we go home and we might even help, and we go home and think, oh, they could easily find a job in a McDonald's. So that's the inner transformation, friends, because it's not the external, but it's the inner. And he was a speaker and a study of the gospel that is all about love. But in the most sacred place, which was his home, he didn't share his love with his family because he mistreated his wife. And if he truly loved his children, the first thing he would do, beyond, yes, they need to have food at the table, but the most important food is the food of the soul, which is leading our children to God. That is the gospel according to Spiritism. The most important mission of parents is to guide their children to God. That's the number one. If we fulfill that, we're set. So, how are we in our inner transformation? Because it's not about the outside, but within. And the important question for us today is, what are we doing with the gift of today, of right now? Because we might make plans. Oh, yes, Daisy, I will help. We will help when I have that position. I have I have paid my mortgage. My card is all paid off. Then I'm going to help. I am going to spend more time with my family. When? And then we complete the sentence. But as we saw with John Matthews, there was no time left, because death comes and says, today's the day. We don't know. We might have a few hours, a few minutes, a few weeks, years to come, decades to come. But when death comes, it doesn't give us any warning, It says, okay, graduation time. Now you're going to go to the spiritual realm. And in the book By the Messengers, which we study next on Fridays, we see cases after cases like John Matthews. People who were prepared. If we're here in this room today, we were prepared to this reincarnation. It's not by chance that we are here. It's not by chance that we are in this environment at this Spiritist Center. We were called by Jesus to come and do our part. And they are waiting for us, like we see in the book The Messengers. And then we get here and we get so distracted. And the guardian angels are saying, come on, let's go. You remember? We talked about this before you reincarnate. Let's go. Let us push ourselves to be uncomfortable. Because being in the comfort zone, we know that we are not truly working in that inner transformation. So how did John misuse his time? He was uninterested in helping others, as we already disclosed, right? And they disclosed the number of trips for entertainment and pleasure. Oh my goodness. Imagine our files, friends. They have there all the concerts that we went to, all the money we spend at the beauty store and everything. Oh my goodness. And then when it's to help others, how much that equals to. So that is a reminder for us. He thought only about himself. He studied and he understood that we're all brothers and sisters, but in his daily life, he said, I'm going to be with those people who think the same, who have the same social status with me. And then how does that affect our lives? Because are we only thinking about ourselves? Or as Jesus said, are we truly thinking that let me do to others what I would like to receive? That changes everything, because we get home and we think, okay, it's not about me and thinking about myself. There are people under my roof, what they would like to receive. Oh, they would like to get home and have a nice meal prepared. Okay, I can do that. Oh, they will be so happy. They already gave me so many hints that how happy they will be if I took the trash out without them asking. Do we see, when we think about helping others, we think it's something so grandeur, like John thought, constructing a shelter for others, but it's in the small things. It's not in the big grandeur things, but in the small things. Oh yeah, at work, what would my boss like me to do? Oh, he would like me to get that report to him without him having to bug me about it. Okay, I would do that. I'll make their lives a little bit easier because I don't know what's happening in their homes. So we see, if we take, Jesus is so beautiful, because if we take his prescription and apply it to our everyday lives, we're not going to be able to go wrong. He focused on doing things and not feeling. And this is so important for us, because especially here in the United States, it's all about the doing, right? Say, oh, but I don't even have time to sit down and relax because I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I go to work, I come back. And our schedules are filled from by the time we wake up, by the time we go to sleep. But then we're doing things like a robot. What is the difference of us? And they talk about the robots that are coming, right? It's because we have feelings. So the robot might bring us a cup of water, but we can give the cup of water with love and care for that person. And that changes everything, because it's all about how we feel. So it's not so much about the number of spiritist sessions that he went to, how much he had in his bank account, not even how much he gave out, which was very, very little. But it's how we do it, if we're opening our hearts. And lastly, he postponed of doing the good, because he always planned to help tomorrow instead of today. So friends, today we're gonna wrap up with this question. How often do we wait for the right time to act? Because we're so good in making plans and thinking about the right place and the right situation, and then time just goes by. In the book 2,000 Years Ago, there's a beautiful moment when we have the senator very proud. He was not speaking. He lived in the same route as his wife, Livia, Senator Publius Lentulus and Livia. For a plot that you have to read on the book, we're not going to have time to disclose. He spent more than 20 years living under the same roof and not speaking a word to her, treating her like she was no one. But after so many years and so many things happened, he finally realized, and he was like, this is so, I'm so stupid, right? Why I'm doing this, right? She's right here, she's the love, and they love each other. Talk about soulmates, right? They love each other. But there was a context at the time. And then he hears she's in the room next door. She's singing a beautiful song. Not actually a poem, right? But we know poems at the time were actually songs, right? So she was there and he feels, he's like, he wants to open the door. All he needs to do is open the door and embrace her. That's all he needs to do. Doesn't even need to say anything because she was there, faithful and loving. So he had the time right now. But then he thought, oh no, it's been 20 years. I need to do a grandeur thing for her to forgive me. So he thought, okay, tomorrow I'm going to receive the highest, most prestigious award for the Roman Empire at the time. So he said, perfect situation in his mind, right? I'm going to receive the award. She's going to be there. And I'm going to declare my love for her. Then we read in the book what happens. The moment never comes. And she actually discarnates very tragically. Again, read the book. But he doesn't have a chance to reconcile before she dies. The story, Livia rises up. Jesus himself comes to embrace her. And Senator Publius Lentus is Emmanuel, which today is reincarnated on earth with all of us going through pandemics, shutdowns, and so on and so forth. She is in such a higher sphere that she doesn't even to reincarnate on earth anymore. So, friends, the time is now. Let's not wait for tomorrow. This morning I was reading the news. It's an interesting story. You know, not talking about the person, but the situation. Mackenzie Scott is the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. And she, after her divorce, has been helping a lot of charities. And I got to know this morning that her drive to help others started in college when she didn't have the means. She was, I don't know the context and I don't know what happened. But she said it was her roommate who lent her $1,000 so that she wouldn't drop out from school. And from that moment, she opening herself up with the importance of helping others. And today, she's helping millions of people. Imagine if that roommate hadn't given her that $1,000, her life would have changed forever. So the impact, it seems so small. We think that that person that we're helping, who that person will be in 20 years from now, we don't know. But we might be in the shoes of asking for help, and that person's going to come back and help us. But it's depend on us doing our part today. So let us end with Jesus, because Jesus, he didn't wait to do the good. And thanks to the chosen, we get to see so many beautiful passages. We're going to show a passage where it's season 3. There's a whole context. Jesus is with the disciples in a city where has been a lot of discussion about following Jesus or not. People were ready to not only verbally but physically get into conflict. And he's there trying to pacify when someone comes asking for help. He could have said, can you give me a minute? I need to finish this discussion. But he didn't. So friends, let us, thank you, Narcissus is going to turn on the lights. And we're going to see how Jesus takes the opportunity right now to act.
If you had faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, You could say to a mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would obey you.
Can a mulberry tree grow in the sea?
He's making a point. Truly, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you could say to a mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you.
How do we get there?
Like Judas said, you increase our faith.
It's not about size, Philip. It's about who your faith is in. If your faith is secure in God, trusting His promises, choosing His will for your life instead of your own, this life is enough. These people we are ministering to, they are like bees hovering among the flowers, waiting for them to open up so they can sip the nectar and spread it to others. But they must see a faith in you that is secure. Big or small.
Looks like you have your work cut out for you.
Hey.
You're right, teacher. They do have short memories.
Excuse me. What are you doing? Step back. We're listening to our teacher.
So am I.
Ignore him, son. This moment is about us and Jesus. What is that smell? Rancid.
It is an infection, okay? My leg is broken and it got infected. Mind your own business.
You need to get that checked out. It's really bad.
Right.
Unclean! Silence.
Look, I didn't ask to get a broken leg.
We didn't ask for him to come into this region and make things worse.
I'll talk to you in a moment.
I'm here to test what he said about the faith of the bleeding woman.
I already know, brother.
I know you.
Under normal circumstances, I would strictly charge till no one, in some regions and with some people. It's just not my time to be reviewed and to escalate tension too soon. But it looks like we're past that.
It's been a long time since I've read. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Can keep the lights off, Narciso. Thank you. Friends, let us keep this image of Jesus. We'll keep the lights down for us to start connecting with Him. Jesus didn't wait to act. He helped. He did His part. He stopped what He was doing. And He's not asking too much of us. Remember, it's in the small things. The importance is that we open our hearts and truly see others, not as a reflection of us on what we need from them, but what they need from us. And we think, like Jesus said, do to others what they would like to receive. We'll never go wrong. Let us stay in this moment as we prepare ourselves for the next moment, shall we? we're going to invite everyone for the spiritual passes, visualizing Master Jesus with us. Breathe in and out, feeling the call to inner strength, breathing in and out. We thank you, God. Healing you, Master Jesus. In front of us. Applying the passes onto us. We visualize rays of your healing light. Calibrating our minds and lives. Visualize your loving care in our families, in our group of friends, at home, in our neighborhoods. And we want to thank you for the gift of immortality. With you, to know that we're never alone, Master Jesus, and you're always with us. Like the man who was healed, we feel ourselves before you today, accepting and absorbing your healing presence. Breathing in and out, we feel that every cell of our physical and spiritual bodies are aligning with your love, and we are learning to do the good to others as our priority. May we live our selfish lives only for our families and start helping others without expecting any reward and without actually having any reward. May we stay under your guidance as we feel your protection.